da parte non solo dei due oratori, ma anche da parte nostra, insomma, la possibilità di dialogare, di intervenire su un tema che avevamo individuato, che era, anche come tutti gli altri temi, un tema tempestuoso. Ci sono nuovi usi, in altri temi sta cambiando il pubblico dell'architettura, questi nuovi usi corrispondono a nuovi bisogni, forse ci sono anche delle variazioni nell'utilizzo degli spazi comuni, degli spazi urbani. C'è una labilità senza apostrofo dell'architettura contemporanea rispetto alla funzione. Mi pare che ci sia una maggiore indifferenza, una maggiore preoccupazione nei confronti del design, della forma, dell'oggetto che si autolegittima. Penso che non sia possibile aver perso un'eredità funzionalista in così pochi anni. Credo che ci sia stata una sorta di eclisse della ragione dovuta forse all'ebbrezza causata dalle nuove risorse tecnologiche, dai nuovi sistemi di rappresentazione. Insomma, ci deve essere una spiegazione del fatto che ci sia così poca preoccupazione nei confronti dell'organizzazione funzionale degli spazi, mentre prevale un'attenzione ad altre qualità. Ora, mi incuriosiva sentire su questa considerazione alta la possibilità che davvero si stiano introducendo dei nuovi modi di utilizzare le architetture, quindi una maggiore indifferenza all'organizzazione degli spazi, oppure che sia soltanto una amnesia provvisoria, e che invece il problema dell'organizzazione funzionale continua a reclamare.
Explain the situation that I come from in South Africa and in East Africa, which is where I work. We're in a situation where in the last 15 years since we became a democracy, there's a search for identity of people you're designing for who are of another culture. It's not your culture. So what you're trying to do is be responsible and reinterpret their needs, and also to give them ownership over the new use that you're providing for them. I'm going to show you several projects. The first two projects are, we call them interpretation centers. The word museum to an African is a completely foreign idea. That you take an object of art that was used for ritual practice and you put it in glass and you put it in this museum and then people come and look at it. And the people that I'm talking about, those of you Australians, it's a bit like Aborigines. It's the first time they've ever had anybody listen to their story or talk to them, let alone try and tell their story. So in most cases, the building is the least important. The process that you go through as an architect, you no longer the professor, you go down, you tell the people you're coming to learn from them. And in South Africa, apartheid did to black people what communism did to Eastern Europe. It denied black people access to the free market system, to understand how to work with money. So you have to teach people how to manage money, how to establish themselves as a financial entity, and train them to be curators from word go. And this process is a very lengthy process. You also have to involve them in the decision making and the making of your building. It's very difficult, but what it does is when the building is built and they have real ownership of the building, it then has a life. We We have certain buildings in South Africa that have been built without interacting with the community, and in 3 months they demolished. The people dismantle it, and they take it to go and build their houses. So there's a new use and role for the architect, that you have to suddenly be humble and be respectful of other people's way of viewing the world. We're very arrogant as Christian Judaic people. We think we know all the answers. And when you start talking to people of another culture, you find that they sometimes have a very much more beautiful understanding than yourself. So it's humbling. The first project is in Alexander Township. It's an area 1.5 kilometers by 1.5 kilometers. The infrastructure was for 77,000 people, but 500,000 people live there in a transient, impoverished way. It's grown organically, and the red dot is where Mandela lived in the room in 1942. Now, because he lived in this room, we have declared the area around this room, which I've measured up. I measured every bed, I measured every light pole, I measured every washing line. I got to know the people. We declared it a conservation area in inverted commas. It doesn't mean it can't grow. But what I learned about defensible space, about how people, ordinary people, organize their life and how they develop these courtyards, which the courtyard is the most wonderful idea because you can control entry into a space. It exists right across the Middle East, right across Asia, and it used to exist in Europe. Just go to Berlin and look at the old parts of Berlin, which work very well. So sometimes you're looking at old typologies, which really aren't. And having looked at that, next, and gone into people's lives, next, and examined how people use space. The government would like to take all this poverty away and put people in those buildings, but then you all end up a drug addict. Notice how the steps become a theatre. Very simple things start working. Next. And the man there is guarding the entrance and the children are playing. So there's something in the way people behave and socialize that we can learn from. Okay? And the defensible space. Now, I had the opportunity to build a museum. Mandela said to me, please don't build a museum that tells my story. It's been told enough. Build a museum that tells the story of ordinary people's lives, how they embraced the struggle during apartheid, and also how they live today, and the jazz musicians, the good that has come out of the situation. What I did is we had squatters living on 2 sites. So we brokered that those squatters would move to a better life in the area with better housing, and then we put our feet down and we did a bridge building. Next. And we built a steel building so that the local people would come and build. And they would do the infill. And you would have a ramp that would take you up the building and into the building. And then you would deal with past, present, future. It's also a gateway. So it becomes very symbolic in a lot of ways. And we trained a group of 10 people to get the stories from the 500,000 people that live there, working with older people because it's all oral tradition, and then as curators to change that into the exhibition, which is going to tell the stories and the archive. And I should just show the staircase because my son is an architect. When you get to the end of the museum, like the South African, you look over at it, and then you come down and you walk through it. And I needed a staircase to go up and down, and my son said to me, you know, Babadi has designed a much better staircase and you use it. Okay. That's what we do as architects. Next. And, you know, students always think that when you're my age, you know everything. I'm not a student. I started first